Hey guys, this is Rick Thomas from Obsolete Video Services. Alright, now we are been going through a lot of these 1-inch Type A tapes that I've got, this first gigantic lot of recordings. Don't know what's on most of these, but of course these were actually stored in a very poor condition. They might have came from various different areas where they were in the boxes and had a lot of moisture buildup. Okay? And that created... I'm taking that these were at one time in the Midwest, and they ended up in California, maybe Florida. They were moved around quite a bit. Anyways, these Type A tapes, 1-inch tapes, they're very dirty. They've been in many different storage areas, I can see. But we're going to talk about right now is we're going to talk about tapes with actual mold on them. All right? As you can see, these tapes have mold. They're going to have to be baked. They're going to have to be cleaned. Again, everybody asking, when you have tapes like this, mold is a living organism, and it has to be killed. You got to kill that organism on the tape itself. The only way you can do that is by baking the tapes in a very high temperature, which we do in our food dehydrator over here, which... If you're going to get tapes like this, especially 1-inch tapes or even 2-inch quad tapes, you need to bake them for a long time. We're going to probably bake these tapes for 3 days straight. I'll pop in maybe 5, 6, 7 of them at a time. Bake them at least for 3 days each. Due to the fact the high mold content and the condition that these tapes are in from sitting for such a long time. Anyways, when you have mold, mold's a very, very big problem with these Type A tapes, because I'm sure these go back for quite a few years. So these have been shuffled around a lot. I would have to guess maybe 3 or 4 different moves in different climates that had winter and summer, and then just like the Midwest, and then you got California, with the salty air, and it looks like these things have been moved around many places. All right, they've created a onslaught of mold on a lot of these reels, which is not a problem. You just, like I said, once you kill the mold, the tape could be broken free by repacking them, and then you clean them at the same time. But when tapes are moldy like this, you do need to bake them for a long time. We're going to be baking these tapes for about, probably we're going to be baking these tapes for about 3 days. I'm probably going to do them in lots of 7 to 8 at a time. They are very moldy, and it's very interesting because a lot of these tapes are very, very old, very early. You can tell by the Memorex reels. These go back as far as the actual machine from the 60s. So a lot of these are probably going to have some pretty, very interesting recordings on them. These definitely go back to the 60s, a lot of them. A lot of these plastic ones went into the early 69, early 1970s, but as far as these Memorex ones, these are like original from the time frame when the machine was put out in 66. Of course, I've got a couple of the Scotch ones over here, which are also moldy from various different climates. They're going to have to be baked and cleaned really, really well. Ballpark, like I said, baking these moldy tapes at least 3 days straight. You want to get the mold killed. You got to kill that mold with some good temperatures of heat where it just dies off and dries up, so you can actually flake it off and actually clean the tape when you repack them. But once you kill the mold, you're pretty well in good shape. But once tapes get moldy like this, yeah, you got an issue. So that's why we picked up a professional food dehydrator. This is a professional one used in very high-end restaurants and various different things for dehydrating food like beef jerky and all that kind of stuff. This type of unit works fantastic on these type of tapes. I am going to have to pick up a few more of these units. I already know about that with the massive amount of tapes coming my way. But when these tapes get moldy from bad environments, bad climate, which a lot of these tapes were in, obviously, they've got to be baked, they've got to be cleaned. I won't even touch these tapes unless these things are baked at least 3 days to get the moisture completely out of them and kill the mold. All the mold's got to be killed. A food dehydrator does a wonderful job of that. You put videotapes in this thing at high temperatures at a very long temperature span, 3 days long or whatever, it will kill the mold off these tapes big time. And then you'll be able to flake it off in cleaning, and get it all. It's like a powder. Once you do kill it, the mold comes off like a white powder residue. And then you clean the tape very, very well and you repack it. Then you should be able to do the recovery on the tapes. When you have tapes that have mold, they must be baked quite a long time. And especially these particular tapes, these 1-inch tapes, looks like they were in an enormous amount of different climates. Probably many, many, many moves, I would guess. The climates on these that create this mold. Midwest, and then probably out to California, maybe Florida. God only knows. But the mold content on these is atrocious on a lot of these tapes. So we'll have to bake them in the food dehydrator for 3 days, and then we'll be able to repack them and flake the shit off with some cleaning material to get them clean before we even give them a pass through the machine to try to copy them to a file. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video.